There have been so many times now, and for so many years, UFC judges have been getting away with doing absolutely ridiculous things, having ridiculous scorecards, making ridiculous decisions for rounds that are absolutely atrocious. Guys, it's about time that the judges have to at least answer some questions for us, because now we know that we're getting a Valentina Shevchenko versus Alexa Grasso rematch, and we do not want to see that. Does anybody want to see that? Yeah, it's right for Valentina Shevchenko. She obviously shouldn't have gotten the 10-8. She should have gotten the fight. The fight should not have been a draw, obviously. And this is the right thing to do, to give her another opportunity. But it shouldn't be happening in the first place. The judges should have got it right at the first time. I believe his name was Mike Bell. Guys, the judges in the UFC and MMA need to at least answer for the things that they do. We're going to talk about this whole situation. I'd love to know what you think down below afterwards in the comments. We're going to get into it in just a second. Before we do, though, I do want to say hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with too many YouTube channels. Let's talk about UFC judging. So, guys, the Valentina Shevchenko one, this isn't even remotely the first time. How many cards even I feel like it's getting worse. Or maybe because we're paying a little bit more attention to it. I don't know. But I don't understand how the Athletic Commission, the UFC, these MMA organizations can't have any influence over her. I would imagine they can, because the UFC has influence over some referees that they don't want anymore. Or even if you want to go all the way back to the Stitch Duran thing, the UFC definitely has some influence. They have influence over USADA. Why don't they have influence? And you see Dana White criticizing the judges all the time. Why aren't they doing anything about these judges? At the very least, whenever there's a horrible robbery, because it's to the point where the entire world said that the Valentina Shevchenko versus Alexa Grasso 5th round was not a 10-8, but you have one judge giving it a 10-8. We're at the point where the entire world is disagreeing with this. You have to at least, why can't we have a post-fight press conference where these judges come and sit down and have to at least answer, instead of just, oh, I got paid, taken off. You know what I mean? What? At the press conference should be the absolute minimum, let alone the fact that you're just probably robbing all these fighters of their livelihoods. What if they really needed this money? I know they could, you could argue that, you know what, you shouldn't have left it in the hands of the judges, but the joining to the judges shouldn't be a bad thing. It's come to a point now where you have the saying in MMA where you say, oh, well, don't leave it in the hands of the judges. That's ridiculous. It's a fight, and it goes for 5 rounds or 3 rounds or whatever. It shouldn't be a horrible thing to leave it to the judges. The judges make that many errors that there's now a saying, and it's been a saying for years at this point. Don't leave it in the hands of the judges. What can you do? That's not fair, man. If you want to fight, you want to fight. We've gotten to a point where the entire world is agreeing on this stuff. The entire world is where did you get that scorecard? Like I said, literally the only thing that you can do, the only thing that at the very least is possible, is to have the judges answer. We have post-fight press conferences for the fighters. Why not for the judges? They don't need to go to the hospital. They don't need to have anything done. They just get to go home. They are more than capable of sitting down and doing a press conference. Sit Mike Bell down, say, hey, why did you give Valentina Shevchenko versus Alexa Grasso a 10-8 round? Why did you do this? And you can go back to how could you possibly give John Jones 3 rounds against 2? And I understand it might not have been him who did that scorecard, but you get the point. There are so many fights, and the only reason I keep pointing to Grasso versus Shevchenko is because that just happened. And now we're seeing a rematch. We're seeing a rematch that nobody wanted to see. I wanted to see Valentina Shevchenko versus Erin Blanchfield. That would have been infinitely more fun to watch, but now, because of some guy's error, that he's probably the only one on the planet who says that 10-8 round for Valentina Shevchenko was against her in the 5th round of that fight. Why? Why do we have to see this fight again? It's not exciting. Nobody wants to see it, and it should have been done right the first time. You're holding up the division. You're robbing other fighters of their opportunities. You're robbing fighters of their money. After every event, again, at the very least, sit them down, make them answer. And the only reason why I think that this is impossible is because it's possible that the UFC has some influence. Maybe they wanted Alexa Grasso to win at UFC Noche. Maybe. I wouldn't put that past them, especially what we're seeing with Conor McGregor and USADA right now. And again, this isn't a UFC hate video or anything. I'm a big fan of the UFC. I'm a big fan of Dana White. But that's the possibility. The UFC could be blocking this stuff because we've seen them give refs the boot before. We've seen them have people work less events. Why not do it for the judges? This is crazy. This is absolutely ridiculous. But there's other stuff that you can do. Why not have 7 judges? That'll at least make the Mike Bell not even matter. You know what I mean? The guys who think like that, the guys who just give out ridiculous scorecards. You can have that one guy and all 6 judges given the right decision. You know what I mean? Then it would just filter out the idiot that's at every single event. Or maybe you can explore the idea of having retired UFC fighters become judges, just like we've seen with referees. UFC fighters, and you're getting a little bit touchy there. I guess you would have to depend on the UFC fighter because I can see some of them being biased to their teammates, you know what I mean? But regardless, it's a better idea than just having what we have right now, because there is a serious problem with UFC judging right now, and I do not like to see these fighters lose their livelihoods, and we have to, it's robbing us of our entertainment sometimes as well, but of course that's not even like nearly the biggest part. It's about the fighters, man. It is about the fighters. They're getting robbed out of these decisions. Johnny Hendricks should have went down as a UFC champion. Dominic Reyes should have went down as the guy to dethrone John Jones. He should have gone down with the legacy of being the only guy to do that. And now he's getting knocked out and he doesn't have a single thing to his name and everybody's going to forget about him. Sean O'Malley should not be champion right now because Piotr Jan should have gotten another shot at the title. And you want to talk about the biggest one that hurts my heart? Carlos Condit should have went down as a UFC champion after everything, all the blood, sweat, tears and time and damage that he's taken to get to a UFC title, and it was robbed from him by ridiculous judges who didn't know what they were watching. I don't understand why this is such an issue and how the UFC can continue to let it happen. This is why sometimes we turn to other organizations. This doesn't happen a ton. It happens, but it doesn't happen nearly as much. I believe the UFC could possibly have some influence. Maybe we can get into it because the UFC fights are bigger. I don't know, but I notice this problem way worse in the UFC. Regardless, these MMA judges need to be held accountable somehow. They need to, at the very least, have a press conference to answer for what they've done. They have robbed countless fighters of championships, legacy, money, and livelihood. I don't understand why this continues to happen. Something needs to be done, and this is where I'd love to turn it over to you guys. Let me know in the comments section down below, and I know this isn't going to make a difference, but I want to have the conversation. What can the UFC or any MMA organization do to fix the judging problem? I think of make them answer, humiliate them online, let the fans throw beer at them. There needs to be some sort of consequence, and have more judges. Have 10 judges, have 20 judges, I don't care. That'll filter out the idiots. Let me know what they can do down below, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. On the screen right now, if you'd like to continue watching the Clenbat channel, there'll be 2 videos on screen for you right now. I will see you either there or in the next video, guys. Take care.